It was July 10, 99. The city of Valencia stood silent under the scorching Castilian sun. From the towers of its great fortress, Christian banners flew, but the man who had placed them there, the warrior who had fought for the city, bled for it, ruled it, now lay dead. His name was Rodrigo Díaz de Vivar. To his enemies, he was a cunning mercenary. To his followers, a noble knight. To his history, he is known simply as El Cid. He died in exile, neither king nor prince, yet his legend would grow larger than kings. This is the story of El Cid, the exile, who became Spain's reluctant hero. The Spain of the 11th century was not one nation, but many, a fractured land of Christian and Muslim realms, each vying for power, each shifting in alliance and ambition to the north. Leon, Castile, Aragon, Christian kingdoms competing with one another as much as they fought against Islam to the south. The Tifas, small, independent Muslim states, formed after the collapse of the once mighty Caliphate of Cordoba. Some were cultured, others warlike, most vulnerable. Borders were not lines, but battlefields. Loyalty was not fixed, but fluid. And in this world of shifting sands, El Cid carved his name. Rodrigo Díaz was born around 1043 in the town of Vivar, near Burgos, in Castile. His family were of the minor nobility, not wealthy, but respected. His father had served as a knight, and Rodrigo followed in his path. He entered the service of Prince Sancho, son of King Ferdinand I of Leon and Castile. Rodrigo rose quickly, known for his discipline, courage, and skill with the sword. By his 20s, he had earned the title Campeador Champion, a battlefield title for a man who had proven himself in single combat. When Ferdinand died, his kingdom was divided among his sons. Sancho, Rodrigo's lord, received Castile, but he wanted more. Between 1065 and 1072, Castile was plunged into civil war. Sancho sought to reunite the kingdom by force, attacking his own brothers. Rodrigo fought at his side, not as a courtier, but as a soldier. Together, they won battle after battle. But in 1072, Sancho was assassinated under suspicious circumstances. At the siege of Zamora, a turning point that left Rodrigo without his patron, Sancho's younger brother, Alfonso VI, the very man Sancho had fought, became king of Leon and Castile. Rodrigo, the loyalist champion of his enemy, now faced an uncertain future. Legend says that when Alfonso took the throne, Rodrigo forced him to swear publicly that he had no part in Sancho's murder. If true, it was a bold act, one the king would not forget, though Rodrigo stayed in Alfonso's service. Tensions simmered in 1081. After a campaign against the Muslim kingdom of Toledo, Rodrigo was accused of disloyalty, possibly for negotiating terms with Muslim commanders. Without royal approval, whether guilty or not, he was banished. Rodrigo became a mestizo de frontera, a knight of the borderlands, serving whoever would pay him. He led a small band of loyal men and offered his sword to Muslim rulers in Zaragoza, fighting not against Christians or Muslims, but for coin and honor. He was no longer just a Castilian knight. He was now something stranger, a Christian warlord, respected by Muslims and feared by kings. It was during his years in exile that Rodrigo earned the name by which history remembers him, El Cid, from the Arabic Sidi meaning lord. To the rulers of Zaragoza, he was a valuable commander. To Christian chroniclers, his actions were ambiguous. He fought fellow Christians, yet retained Christian identity. He observed Catholic rites, yet lived in Muslim courts. This dual life was not betrayal, it was survival, and perhaps even principle. In an age when most men were bound by loyalty to crown or creed, El Cid stood alone, bound only to his word, and his word was iron. By the mid-1090s, El Cid's fortunes changed again. The Christian kingdoms were advancing. The Great Reconquest, the long campaign to reclaim Iberia, had gained momentum. Alfonso VI, who had once exiled El Cid, now saw his value again. But El Cid had his own ambitions. He turned his gaze to Valencia, a wealthy coastal city ruled by a Muslim emir, but contested by many. It was a city on the edge, culturally rich, strategically vital, politically weak, between 1094 and 1099. El Cid laid siege to Valencia, first through alliances, then by force. He starved the city into submission. And then, against all odds, he ruled it. For the last 5 years of his life, El Cid governed Valencia as an independent lord. He ruled a mixed population of Muslims, Christians, and Jews. He minted his own currency. He maintained diplomacy with both Christian and Muslim powers. He never claimed kingship, but in practice, he was king. Valencia, under El Cid, was a fragile experiment, not of tolerance exactly, but of coexistence. He retained Muslim advisors, upheld local customs, and administered justice according to a complex blend of traditions. His court was Christian in form, but Moorish in flavor. He had become a bridge between two civilizations, not always peacefully, but with purpose. In 1099, El Cid died, cause unknown, likely illness. He was buried with military honors in a monastery near Burgos. But even in death, his story did not end. According to legend, when Valencia came under siege by Almoravid forces, his wife Jimena had his body clad in armor, mounted on horseback, and paraded from the gates to rally the troops. It was said that even in death, El Cid led one final charge. The story is apocryphal, but the message was clear. El Cid was not just a man, he had become a symbol. Within decades, Valencia was lost again to Muslim forces. El Cid's family faded from power, but his legend grew. In the 12th century, El Cantar de Mio Cid, the Song of My Cid, was composed. The first great epic of Spanish literature, it portrayed him not as a mercenary, but as a loyal Christian knight, wronged by kings and honored by God. Over time, fact and fiction merged. He became Spain's Arthur, a model of courage, honor, and resolve. His battles were exaggerated, his motives purified, his exile forgotten. But the real El Cid was more complex, and perhaps more remarkable. He was not a saint. He was not always loyal, but he was always true to his code. A man shaped by the chaos of his time, who refused to be defined by it. He fought for Moors, for Christians, and finally for himself. He lived in the spaces between allegiance and exile, between myth and reality, and in doing so, he became immortal.